To begin with, our very first presentation. Yes, some of you've seen it, but it's going to take a little different emphasis today. This is how you do this in a systems approach. And the key is what we're going to talk about is how do you manage your soil to get optimal nutrient density. So it's a little different. If you've seen parts of this, you're going to say, well, I've seen this before, but today we're going to talk about how do we maximize the nutrient density in what we're feeding our animal so we'll have that high nutrient dense meat. My view for us, a group of producers, as Mike's developing that product, think of what it's going to do for you. If you hit the ground running 1, 2, or 3 years from now, and you have your product label, you use Mike's product, and then you can prove you've got a high conjugated linoleic acid, you've got an omega-3 properly balanced omega-6, and you've got manganese, you've got iron, you've got selenium. On our first slide, what makes all this work is this dynamic here. You've got sunshine giving us photosynthesis, you've got a mixture of plants. Every plant has an exudation that stimulates the microbes. That exudation is a mixture of proteins and sugars. That exudation stimulates the biology to deliver nutrients back to the plant. There is no free lunch in the soil. Keep that in mind, there's no free lunch. Ideally, a healed farm that is fully functioning should have 20 tons of biology per acre. Most farms, due to some tillage, chemical practices, or due to simply not feeding the plants with the life of the soil, have a deficit of 250,000 pounds per acre. So what happens with the dynamic, the plants exude and feed the soil biology. The soil biology returns nutrients. What we want to do, we want to mix these plants to feed the optimum for our forage animals. This is from Matt and Ben Swash Farms. They're here with Matt and Ben. You get a chance, you can ask them too what they witnessed with this. We want monoculture, daikon radish in the upper left. No fertilizer. Look, it's nutrient deficient. We mix our daikon radish with other plants in the upper right. By stimulating biology, no fertilizer, look at the nutrient uptake. When we start doing that, we will get manganese, we will get iron, we will get selenium, provided it's in the soil profile. Again, the bottom left, when monoculture is nutrient deficient. On the far right, we let oats as the dominant. We mixed in our legumes, we mixed in our brassicas, and look how healthy the oats is. When you're doing that, not only are you preparing nutrients for your farm, for your farm's fertility, you're preparing a nutrient base for your livestock. What makes this work is nature's fertilizer machine. It is all about mycorrhizae. And whether you are protecting it, it's what we're going to encourage you to do, feeding it with exudation, or adding mycorrhizae naturally, it is the key to the electrical conductivity of the nutrient base of the soil profile. We want it to truly be like a spider web. Every root has an exudation. The emphasis, if you haven't seen the presentation in 3 to 6 months, there's a greater deal of emphasis today on the exudates that a plant secretes right as it begins to grow. Keep in mind, what a plant is doing with the exudation process is stimulating the biology to receive the nutrient base it needs. There are multiple plants that we can use in our mixture that don't have to become a key part of our forage. What they have to do is stimulate the biology to increase the nutrient density. So keep in mind, when you're mixing, as we talked to today about how do you mix a polyculture to maximize feed value, some of your polyculture by design will be done as the feed base. Some is a biological stimulation to improve the quality of the feed you're feeding. For instance, sometimes when I mix a mix for a farmer, I will have minced peas, and I will point out this is not part of your forage base. This is done to improve the quality of your forage. The exudation, where's Joe Swanson, by the way? Joe's from Kansas, and one of your Kansas professors, I think you said you've seen it, showed a pea that at 3 weeks had already flocculated the soil. Is that correct? You had seen that? Did you have a chance to see the soil or the profile of that soil at that time, Joe? You did not. But in 3 weeks of growth, small pea had already slobbered so aggressively in the soil had already flocculated. So what we're looking to do with root exudations, Oats, for instance, up to about 5 inches of tall has just slobbered all over the soil and has stimulated microbes to deliver nutrients. We get the same thing from crimson clover, we get the same thing from peas, buckwheat, and so on. So that's what we're going to talk today about. How do you stimulate the microbes to increase nutrient uptake? For my farm, this is from Woods End Laboratories. This is a field that I knew I had trouble with. Notice my soil for health fertility, it's low. The reason it happened, gentleman who works for me, thought he was doing the right thing, and I still had him employed. He's a great guy. He wanted to play with his John Deere disc one day, and he went out to my field, beside my house, and he disked it up. Now, it didn't help either, it's wet. Look what happened by him disking that field on one day. That was a living field. Look what happened to my soil health score. She plummeted. Now, wanting to produce a great product, I cannot use this forage for my farm. I will not use this forage for my farm. I'll use this field now for other purposes. This is what, when the gentleman from Woods End gets here, this is what their soil analysis does. Brookside can do it in Ohio. Brookside has its locations up here. There's some other laboratories that can run this test. This is the Solvita test. What I put in was my target goal is 200 bushel corn. I was pretty sure because the mycorrhizae had been damaged from the disking process that my soil health score would be too low, and 15 is way too low. I would have wanted this within 30 to 40, and ideally eventually getting to 50. Even my fertility could have been a little better. There's a couple of issues over there. Part of it is, again, the biology been damaged, a couple other issues on that side of the farm. But wanting to produce a good product, I would not produce forage off of this field. You have to do a systems approach. When I go around the country and look at the farmers who are cover cropping, who are farming biologically, everyone does the system. And if they're missing any part of the system collapses. One thing you'll notice, they always keep it green. 2, they reduce their chemical stress. 3, use appropriate soil amendments. 4, they reduce physical stress. 5, use viable biologicals. And 6, and this step's not a step backwards, it's a quantum leap backwards. What I'm going to share with you is what I do. Doesn't mean it's absolutely right. But this is what I do at the cover crop ranch to get that high nutrient density. My goal is, Mike comes to me 9 months from now and said, Jeff, we can do everything. I want him to test whether it's one of my pigs, one of my steers, and I want to show that I've got the highest nutrient density in the market. Could you imagine what that would do for the price I could command for that product? This is the relay cover crop. In keeping it green, we're talking the relay. I think the relay for your forage is one of the things to look at. I've got a definition in there for you later on of a relay. This would have been in behind a small grain harvest. This would have been on that farm that year a 9-way mix. Last year I went to a 15-way mix. This summer we'll probably push it closer to 18. Notice my carry is my oats. The idea of the relay is you mix a dominant, in this case it is the oats. I had already frost seeded in the spring a light mixture of clovers, 4 clovers. The clovers, the relay concept is it's going to feed nitrogen to your oats. Notice how green it is. There's no fertilization used here. No fertilization, it's all natural. The clovers are going to stimulate my oats. I have now in the summer added my brassicas, and with the relay concept, underneath it I've added additional crimson clover, a little bit of rape, and additional Root Max annual rye. The reason for the annual rye and crimson clover and the relay concept, it will not be part of the fall bailing. You will see it show up here in just a little bit, how it'll show up. It'll be the spring play. The oats is going to increase phosphorus. My legumes are going to increase nitrogen. They're going to increase the fungi and the protozoa. My brassicas will help you with micronutrients. In the fall, this is what it'll look like. I will always harvest prematurely. Michigan State has an excellent slide. I should have included that in here actually, but an excellent slide. They show what's the optimum quantity produced, optimum quality, and where do you balance that with nutrient effect of the soil. And in that analysis, Michigan State shows time and again, you always harvest to the left of the boot stage. You don't get there. You harvest early. So in this case here, even though my oats, that's Jerry oats, got a nice leaf to it, I would harvest that early. That gives me optimal feed value. Notice my brassicas are yellow. first thing we would do in agriculture today is most farmers would say we need to do what? We got to throw fertilizer at it. When I took that slide picture, the reason I included that, my solution is biology. I want to increase the fungi in relation to bacteria. If fungi and bacteria balance, all the nutrients come up naturally. To push the fungi, I would have needed a pea or two in crimson clover. A couple of legumes proximate to those brassicas, and they would have been green. And with the relay concept, look at the spring forage. Beneath the earlier picture, what you'd have had is you'd have had root max and crimson clover. And look at the value we got in the spring. The neat thing about polyculture is if you go monoculture forage harvest, if you go monoculture, you will not have a nutrient-dense forage, you don't have diversity, and your soil nutrient base will always decline. If you go monoculture, your soil nutrient base will always decline. If you go polyculture, diversity by design, each harvest, the nutrient base should go up. Each harvest nutrient base should go up. In this scenario here with the relay, we will get 2 forage harvests, and we will also get 2 nutrient plays. And as we talk, I do have to harvest mine wet bale. I think grazing is by far superior. There's no question grazing is the way to go. In the fall, you sustain and maintain. Just a nice picture of a fall cover. Again, keep in mind, as soon as you do not feed the biology, it cannibalizes. Reduce chemical stress. To me, one of the most important chemicals to get rid of is the salt. Anytime you add a salt-based fertilizer, you will sever your abused mycorrhizal fungi. And if you haven't seen some of these salt-based indexes for fertilizers, check them out. You'll be surprised how much salt there is in our fertilizer system today. Keep in mind the Bible. What the Assyrians do to their enemies? They salt the land. What do modern farmers do? They salt the soil, and as soon as you salt the soil, your abused mycorrhizal fungi stop to function. You sever those networks, the nutrients cannot come up. I do not believe you can produce a high nutrient-dense forage and a nutrient-dense meat if you're putting salts in soil. So what I've been looking for is I thought I wanted to add more potassium. Yes, I'm making it available. I did finally find a product out west. We got a slide on it later. It's called SSP. It is a natural potassium mine with some sulfur. There's no salt in it. So it allowed me to get some additional potassium as my biology continues to work to make more available. The other chemical stress I watch, keep in mind if you use an in-row fungicide, it is basically like going to have a baby, and I like this analogy, and getting your chemotherapy when you're there. None of us would think that makes sense. You know, if you go see a doctor and you had your child, and you went ahead and got your chemotherapy and say, well, I might get cancer, so why don't we do this? It's the same concept. Why do we put a fungicide in if it's not needed? We in agriculture today have become way too abusive of the use of fungicides. Use appropriate soil amendments. I do believe that there's a huge role for humates and humic acid. Everything I see on the research side, one of the biggest problems we have destroying the soil today is unmanaged nitrogen. The problem with unmanaged nitrogen is if you're at a high organic material, let's say 5, 6, 7%, it'll smolder the soil and burn carbon. If your organic material drops to 1%, 2%, it's like forest fire. The dilemma is if you're burning your organic material, your soil biology will not work. You have to have a high OM. I've got my organic material now pushing 4% plus on most of the farms. I want to get over 5%. I'm going to do that is keep going roots. Roots will build that organic material for me. And I do know that when I get my OM over 5%, I will be able to develop higher nutrient-dense meat, higher nutrient-dense forage. With the humates, any liquid nitrogen or dry nitrogen will work, and that includes manure. There's our slide on the SSP product, something I'm using, not here for sales pitch, just showing what I'm doing to try to increase the nutrient base and not hurt the biology. What I like about SSP, this is a slide out of California, is it gives you the nutrients, gives you the sulfur without the salt. That doesn't mean that's what you need to use. What I'm encouraging you is find a nutrient program that doesn't have the toxicity. find a nutrient program for your farm, manure program, something natural that gets the salt out of the equation. I do use zeolite. If you get a chance, you don't see a lot of marketing on zeolite. There's real good reason to market zeolite. There's no money in it. Why is gypsum market so hard? There's a lot of money in gypsum. There's no money in zeolite. Joe is a friend of mine. Joe, if you share this for a second, what happened to your grass when you put zeolite on your lawn?
We got it from Jeff, and he told us that it would take, not the first year, but the second year. I guess you have to use this. He said it would take the second year before you saw anything. So we put it on the lawn. The lawn was mediocre. And after the first year, we were, even though he told us it would take the second year, we were excited to see the difference. Didn't really see much of a difference, although there was a noticeable difference. And not enough for Jeff to comment on. But the second year really was remarkable. It was wonderful. It was so easy to put on, too. It worked out real well. And I guess it's inexpensive.
It's very inexpensive. And that's also why you don't get a market, too. There's no money in it. Jim Monti, where's Jim at? I know Jim's very knowledgeable. When you get a chance, you want to catch Jim Monti. He's done some excellent research on how it affects animal health. And Jim, you get any customers using it successfully right now, Jim?
Sorry?
You got any customers using it successfully right now, Jim?
Absolutely.
Good. Any stories, any success stories with them? Or sorry to throw you in here, Jim, but
Just at the leading edge of it right now.
just good. So Jim's doing some work with it up in the thumb area. With the zeolite, the reason I use it, a couple reasons. Number one, I've done some work with my manure. If I added light rate to my manure, I can increase my organic nitrogen 76%. If I can increase organic nitrogen, I don't have to go commercial. And anytime you go natural, your biological system will work. It's when you introduce the unnatural that the biology starts to shut down. Do reduce your physical stress. Again, keep in mind, what messed up my first slide with the Woods End lab? They missed it. That soil biology should have tested 35, 40, one disking destroyed the mycorrhizal connections. Just one disking did that damage. And because of that, I won't take forage off of that, because I will not produce a food base for my livestock. I do believe in using viable biologicals. Each year, you should look at what's a replication of nature. If it's synthetic, stay away from it. That's my opinion. It's not natural. It's not part of the grand design. There are some great products today that do enhance. Talking to Ray Archuleta, he points out, I think he's right, our goal is to use it as a Band-Aid. If our soil is not healed, we use it once or twice, and then we should be done. If you have to use it every year, it's no different than a heroin addiction. And then if we are telling you to use it, or if your salesman's telling you to use it every year, that's not it. You're supposed to become independent. You want to get off of the addiction of always buying these products. It's a great way to restart the system. We have AJ Ballas with us. Where's AJ at? Where's AJ at? There it is. AJ, you use what, one or two of them in your beans? You don't double them?
Yeah, we double the rate on it.
Yeah. He doubles them, and he's in an area in Ohio that they farmed for a long time, and the organic materials dropped. And we're real proud that AJ, you were in the top 5 for soybean trials last year in a couple of categories, simply by pushing his biology and carbon. That's a great story, AJ. That's excellent. I am going to play around this year with fish and kelp. The reason I'm going to add fish and kelp is they will stimulate the microbes. Anything that will push my microbiology and push my nutrient density, I'm willing to do. Again, I'm showing you what I'm going to do on my farm. What your customer wants to hear is they want to know you're sincere about producing the best product. And that right now, that communication will work. What are they going to want a year from now, 2 years from now? We're going to be able to prove you've got the best product. And that's what will take this to a whole new level. I went fish and kelp to my forage this year, first time to do it. Talking to Dave DeVries out of Ontario. What it's going to do is going to stimulate my worms, stimulate my microbes, stimulate my mycorrhiza, and my nutrient density, my manganese, and my other nutrients in my plants should go up. You never want to miss. If you miss a fall without feeding the biology, the natural way to feed the biology is green. Biology needs to be fed with plants. If we go 6 months and we do not feed our biology, you're like, that's not being fed in here for 6 months. You don't feed us for 6 months, I'm going to eat one of you. And that makes me a really bad host, by the way. But I'm 6'8", 300 pounds. I'm not going to die. Evolution has dictated that. That's kind of your biology. The biology of soil, if it is not fed, will cannibalize itself, and it will deteriorate. One of the things I encourage you to do as a producer, and Dean Tonner shared with me that he is now biofiltering his farm. Good for you, Dean. Where's Dean at? Dean's biofiltering, which is awesome. Someone else had just told me they were biofiltering. Is you, Travis? You're biofiltering now, right? We encourage you, if you are biofiltering, meaning your soil, either the water that comes off the surface or through tile line, is tap water clean. And if you measure it, not only are you doing right by the environment, but your biology is working. There are some easy ways to test to see if your system is working. If my tile line discharge looks like that, I did this with Jim Horman and a brother Nick Renner, and that was a natural discharge, that bottom little green thing with that fungi at the top of the tile line. If it's working that well, my biology is so efficient that the nutrients are not leaving the farm, and those nutrients will come up into the plants where I'm going to feed my animals. In Northwest Ohio, this is what most of the nutrient discharge looks like. On most farms, that's where it's cloudy, and that's why Lake Erie is a disaster. I would encourage you, whether you work with us at Cover Crop Ranch or develop your own product, I would encourage you to make one of your premises for your customer that you're making your farm biofilter. That's the customer. Once you're doing the right thing, your water discharge is tap water clean. Concepts. Concepts is what empowers you. If you remember only information is given to you, you will not be a nimble thinker. Concepts is what creates intellect, and that's what needs modern education. Every 3 months, what we know about biology was doubling. What we understand about microbiology is doubling. Today, it's closer to doubling every 2 months. The reason it's doubling is not because of men like me, it's because of women like Jill Clapperton, Dr. Ingham, Wendy Tahari, Christine Jones. See, ladies, you actually pay attention to detail. Marty will tell you this morning, me paying attention to detail don't work, does it, Marty? My wife says it takes a village to raise Jeff. And Marty, seeing over the last 24 hours, that's very true. And my friend Joe Swanson visits from Kansas, and he's seen that for a day. It takes a village to raise Jeff, because us men don't pay attention. Now, you get to these ladies, they sure do. Concepts will empower you. And when you're thinking about biology, and when you think about cover crops or biology, I want you to number one, to think like a chef. 2 less is more is too much. 3 aerobic soil, 4 nutrient augers, and in-ground effects for the above-ground event. My wife did that, by the way. This is my wife, Julie. Whether it be through cover crop or managing your biology, think like a chef. For instance, you take a look at that field that was degraded with the disc. How am I going to re-jumpstart it? Well, AJ's not going to be surprised. I'm going to double the biology because it's been damaged by that disc. I'm going to throw SSP at it. I'm going to throw some zeolite. I'm going to throw some manure. And then I'm going to look at some plant mixtures. I got to get that farm restored. That will not work. That is not something I will feed my animals. Can I produce forage? I can chemically. Would I feed that to my family and friends? No. It's not morally correct. You don't feed them nutrient-deficient food. My wife, Julie, if you're cover crop, look for spaghetti. That is your grass. That is your grass. You see my Woods In lab, to restore that field, they suggested 70% grass, 30% legumes, seasonal brassicas. You take your grasses, that village organic material, that's a food source, that's a very key component of making biology work, and you cross your grasses 3 to 5 times. If possible, I'll cross them 5 times. Oats is almost always put in. If you're going to stimulate biology and nutrient uptake, oats should almost always be in the equation. The neat thing about oats, it can be bin, run, $3 a bushel oats, and it'll do the same thing for you. The reason you also want oats in the fall, oats when it lays down, I like to say 7 to 8 inches, it increases the carbon shield, and at 70 degrees surface temperature, the loss of biology to heat is almost 0. Actually, it's pretty close to 0. The other reason you also want oats is probably the best item you're going to have when it's decaying to increase saprophytic fungi. And if you increase saprophytic fungi, you will not have fungicide needs because you won't have imbalances. My wife is about ready to add her legumes and her brassicas. Those are other seasonings. And it's a pinch of each. It's not an excessive amount. Keep in mind, it's the mixing of the legumes that causes the fungi and the bacteria to balance. Keep in mind, less is more, more is too much. That field there is only 8 pounds of annual rice, 6 pounds of crimson clover, 1 pound of rape. Could you imagine what that would look like if I had higher rates? What kind of mess that would have been? It would have been a mess I could not have managed. Keep your soil aerobic. If you do not have moisture in the soil due to compaction, not moisture, air in the soil due to compaction, excess rain, water that's not being managed properly, that is adversarial to your biology of your soil. When I talk to Woods End Labs, some of the low tests they get come as a byproduct of saturated soils. If your soil is not macro aggregated, what will happen is the water will saturate the surface and will kill the surface biology. It won't work. We're real pleased. Dwight Clary is here with us. He's working at Heidelberg study. And Dwight, I should get these mics in people's hands. Where's my friend Dwight? Dwight just shared with us. Dwight, if you just give a shout out what you just had came back on your macro aggregate study of your water infiltration. Sorry to bring you up impromptu, Dwight. Come on up front, Dwight, yes. Up here in the light. Should bring all of you guys up here in the light. There you go, Dwight, sure. Sure, what happened?
Heidelberg, or Tiffin, Ohio, has one of the 3 water quality labs in the country that does a lot of research on the algae blooms and issues that Jeff's talking about up here. And we participated last fall in this water infiltration study. And on our farm, we have multiple soil types, and I gave them for our farm Napanee soil, which is, the soil type is probably one of our heavier soil types on that farm. And it had come back, there was 5 counties and maybe 25, 30 farms the test was done on. I don't know who the other farmers are, but they told me which one was my test, and it was extremely high in water infiltration into the soil. It'd been 34 years of continuous no-till, cover crops half or more of those years. So we're really pleased with the results that we got with that test.
Excellent, Dwight. Another thing that Dwight is involved in, and I will share, real proud of the whole Center Seeds family. He has developed a sediment trap, and what's really cool about it is as the neighbors' phosphorus and nutrients and boron is running through the creek, he puts a, what is it, 5x5 cage?
Well, it depends on the stream, but ours is 10 by 30.
10 by 30, puts a cage in the creek, sets it on the angle for the ripple of water, and he catches the fertilizer and puts it back on the field. That's crazy cool to think about. So he has his own fertilizer factory simply by catching what the neighbors are discharging. And I know Dwight's a real gracious man. If you want to go see that in Astoria sometime, I'm sure he'd be glad to share that with you sometime. So, you know, having your own fertilizer trap is very doable. Nutrient augers, you want to increase nutrient density. You want to push the micronutrients up. One way to push the micronutrients up is to have your plants. Our food supply today is woefully deficient on manganese. One gentleman who cannot be here did contact me a few months ago and told me about his meat. He said, Jeff, he's got a little bit of a cult following behind his meat. He said, families have been buying his meat and they've been reporting that ADHD and problems with kids have been dropping. And he says, yes, we're organic. He went through his process, but he said, why is this happening? And the big reason is manganese is very difficult to bring up if you're using heavy glyphosate. We started now to spray manganese on beans to help, but even when the glyphosate enters our soil, it's tying up our manganese. Unfortunately, we may look back 200 to 300 years from now, just like the lead disaster we're watching in Flint. I was a history teacher at one time. One of the possible collapses of the Roman Empire was the fact they had lead pipes, lead drinking cups, and so on. Today, the manganese is woefully deficient. And if you're short of manganese, it will affect your emotional and cognitive functioning. And what I told this guy, he said he had the first couple of families that bought his meat, that the families were reporting, the kids didn't need Ritalin anymore. The kids were healthier, they were functioning, their behavior was getting better. And from their social media, a number of other families said, well, we want to use your meat, and they were saying the same thing. And I've been very confident, if we use, let's say, Mike's tool, we're going to find his manganese levels where it belongs. So to increase manganese and micronutrients, we use the nutrient augers. This is Dr. Ray Wild. Yes, that is a bayonet, into the bayonet. What a taproot radish will do, just like a sunflower, is it will re-stratify your micronutrients. So you use plants by design to bring your micronutrients back into play. As you mix your plants, keep in mind how important it is to keep in mind what's the in-ground effect of the above-ground event. Because we're doing this for forage, because we're going to be doing forage, whether it's grazing, which I do believe is better, or because we are doing it to stimulate the biology, balance the two. When I mix plants, some of them by design, I plan on them to be a big part of the forage by tonnage. Other plants are added simply to increase micronutrients. So what you look at is what's their growth stage, what phase of growth they're in, when are they releasing these exudates. For instance, I will put in this summer mixture, I will put some legumes in it that by design will only stimulate the microbes. I will have other grasses and other plants that by design will be part of my forage. And if you look at your packet, there's an analysis Ryan Sweeterman did for us on one of our spring balings. Look at the feed value, look how high that was. And that occurred as a byproduct of this management tool. Keep in mind, like rape, the reason rape makes sulfur available is rape needs sulfur. So what's the first thing that rape does? It just slobbers all over the soil. Rape gets 2 to 3 inches tall. It's already prepared sulfur for its future growth. Am I okay with rape dying at 2 to 3 inches? I am, if my goal is to keep the sulfur in the ground. However, I like rape for feeding the cattle and the pigs, so I'm fine with it getting bigger. So when you're mixing your plants, when you're mixing a polyculture, you're thinking what I'm adding for what nutrient base. A daikon radish in a mixture doesn't have to be that big to have a very positive effect on your micronutrients. What we're looking at here is a multi-species grazing of a polyculture. I'm very confident that is your most profitable model. You have got multiple animals. What one animal doesn't eat as its favorite, another one will. You have a cafeteria setting. A cafeteria, when we throw feed to our pigs and cows, we see a cafeteria. They'll pick through and they may eat the radish leaves. They may eat the oats first. That is the value of the biodiversity. Again, we have a pig. This pig is on polyculture. Notice the clovers. Every time you have clovers, you're going to increase the fungi. You want clovers in any mix at 60-40. 60-40, 40% clover, minimum of 3, 60% grass. That's what they're doing today in New Zealand. I had a farmer tell me the reason we have low milk prices is because we can't compete with New Zealand. I asked him, I said, do you know why that is? And his first reaction was, well, they're closer to age. Well, that doesn't hurt. But New Zealand grazes. New Zealand grazes, they keep foraging very, very efficient. And New Zealand, the 60-40 is almost always followed. Here we have our chickens grazing. Keep in mind, Travis is going to talk to you about chickens later on. I'm not as knowledgeable on chickens, so I had Travis come. I'm actually afraid of chickens. It's kind of bad. You got 6 to 8 guys scared to death of them. I'm serious, actually. I'm not kidding. I was traumatized as a child by chickens, so I'm scared to death of them. Here we have cattle feeding on grasses. I want to share a story. We were over in southern Indiana, and a producer was talking about his 2 cover crop mixes. And he was really excited about how they were eating the one fall mix. But he didn't get the whole concept. Because they were talking to him, I said, yeah, they're eating the fall mix, but your grazing period is going to go up to April or May. And a component of the other mix, by design, was done to make sure there was something for the spring. When you're doing your mixes, you're always cognitive of what will my animal want to eat in November, December, January, April, February, and so on. And as you start to think about what do I add, that will affect your diversity by design. That is an excellent set of brassicas. The problem is a lot of that won't be there in the spring. This is my friend Travis Moore with his pigs on the left. Travis, you're by far doing the right thing. You're actually grazing your pigs. With our pigs, what I am doing is I'm using round bales. And what we do is we throw a round bale in. Marty's got a great slide of the pigs I got from Teresa, where we throw a 1,400-pound round bale in. It's 1,400 pounds with saturated wet. And the pigs, in what, 5-10 minutes, destroyed it. They absolutely destroyed it. One of our local universities says it's not possible. You can't raise pigs on forage. And I agree, I probably couldn't raise a commercial pig, but red wattle and Mangalista do just fine, don't they, Teresa?
They do great.
They do great and they taste great, and you're able to feed them off a cover crop base. If you decide to feed a wet forage, one thing I would advise, I got this from my friend Jim Monti, put your zeolite in a feed ration of 4%. Pull the ammonia through the intestinal tract. Pull the ammonia through the intestinal tract. And Jim, something you enjoy hearing, I've noticed in my cows, if I put 1% in, they don't belch. Imagine that. It actually makes sense, don't it, Jim?
Cutting back on greenhouse.
They don't have a reason to belch. Joke. Go
I
ahead.
got a question. Do you have problems with, I have horrible memories of pigs getting out and tearing up everything. Do you have to put nose rings in when you're raising?
The red wattle, we don't.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yes, the question was, do you have to put nose rings in because they get out and they tear everything up? I don't, because they're red wattle. They're not that aggressive. May have to Mangalista. I'll get some tips from Teresa and Travis. Travis, you want to come up here and share with that? Come on up here, Travis.
I'm not a fan of
Come on up here, Travis. And if they would turn the lights back on, we have this segment, and we do want to answer some questions, because we were hoping that with the size of the audience, the key will make this real valuable to the Q&A phase. Come on up here, Travis. I need a drink anyway, so.
When we started doing it, we put nose rings in them, and I found that they're way more efficient grazers without them. Radishes are a big part of what we do, and I'll show you some slides. But we graze the top off with sheep, and then the pigs come through and do the rest with the nose ring. They don't seem like they do much. And, you want them to eat the dirt, you know, you want that. And, that's what makes it work. So I don't know, it doesn't have its place.
Can't hear ya.
Can't hear.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Did you hear me? Go ahead and repeat it one more time, Travis.
We found they graze better, and they'll eat the radishes out of the ground, the dirt, if they don't have nose rings in them. And a hog that's on cover crops isn't a hog that wants to go anywhere. He wants to stay right where he's at. We had 30 sows get out, and they ran about 5 miles. And I was kind of stressed out about it during the thunderstorm, and they all came home. That's where they want to be, you know, that's what they like. They know what's good for them. So they won't act like a regular hog and dig and root out of the fence. They want to eat what's right in front of them.
Step here, Travis, if you don't mind. Travis, you're going to find out today, goes on multi-species raising and marketing is very, very good. And we're very fortunate he's come over here. He sells in Chicago, and you're going to find out he raised by every kind of animal known to man except steers, right? He says that steers got everything else. He's got all the small animals, I'm afraid of. So he can answer those questions. Other questions, yes?
What breed are you running for your hogs?
Old spots here. Yeah, we run old spots.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, he wondered what breed of hogs that we were running. And we use old spots. We started out with red wattles, and we messed with a few other ones, but that's what we ran. And some of them are crossing with Berkshire. That's a nice cross. But they all have their place.
Other questions? Yes.
Do you feed grain with your cover crops?
I'll answer both those things. I do start the pigs on grain, and that's how we start them. Steers, we finish with grain. But if you keep the grain at under 11% of the daily intake, you won't adversely affect conjugated linoleic acid. And that comes from a Dr. Graham Sate out of Australia. Because I want you guys to know where you can look for your reference points. Dr. Graham Sate, if your grain component stays under 11% of the daily intake, you won't adversely affect CLA. Later on, we'll show you why CLA is so important, why your consumer wants it.
Jeff, is that 11% for hogs or steers or both?
At this point, what Graham's got is it's for any animal. I would anticipate, as this stuff keeps moving forward, Barry, we may go 3-4 years from now, be 15-20% for one animal, 8% for another. But right now, they're not differentiating it. Right now.
State is S-A-I-T.
Yeah, SAIT is S-A-I-T. Dr. Graham Sate, S-A-I-T. He does nutritional farming out of Australia, goes around the world and teaches how to improve nutrient density. Marty and I and Eric and others were fortunate enough to go hear him. How do you manage the soil biology to increase the nutrient in your food base, what you feed? Yes?
So even at the end of a steer cycle, when you give them heavier grain or you give them grain, you might still be that at the end under 11%.
11%. Anytime you go over 11% according to state.
Can you repeat the comment? People can't hear it.
Yeah, the question was, at the end of the cycle, you stay at 11%. You have to stay at 11% or less, or you adversely affect the CLA. And that's what we want to. When Mike's got his product ready for us, I want to test high on CLA. Because when I test high on CLA, I can command the price I want. Travis, can you answer like using grain for your livestock?
We use very little of it. I don't use any of it to finish out hogs in the summertime because we're just farrowing them twice a year, so they're always they always have a cover crop in front of them. I do in the wintertime though. I use barley and those. And Jeff's ahead of me on the round room. That's genius. I'm excited to learn more as he does that. I think that's amazing. We've actually, if you get the right cover crop mix, you'll actually finish out way more pounds of pork per acre than what you will raising 200 bushel corn. It's more efficient, believe it or not. And as Jeff showed too, the rate of gain is about the same. It's amazing. So that's what we're at.
Great. Other questions?
Right back here.
Yes.
How many acre, or how do you figure out your acreage? Let's say you take a 40-pound feeder pig, obviously. What does it take to finish that out? I mean, obviously you're doing different.
Okay, so the question was asked, how many acres are necessary to finish out each animal unit? So far, I don't know if I've actually got that answer, but it's always going to vary depending upon what your yields are that year. Last year we were fortunate with all the rain, we did have plenty of forage production. Because of wet baling, we were able to bale in a reasonably timely fashion. So had a huge production on the grazing side, so that's your way, Travis. How many animal units do you have per acre you're grazing? Of course, mob grazing and rotational grazing will affect the animal units.
Right.
And that will definitely affect how many you have, and it will increase. And the picking of the plant species will also allow you to have more animal units. Your Travis, can I answer that?
I'll be real honest with you. I don't have a good answer for that because we're grazing multiple species. I guess we take about 40 acres, and that's what we feed our hogs and sheep out on. We kind of we adjust where they're at and all that when we move them around. But I honestly don't have a good answer on that. Like he said, it depends a lot on your species. It depends a lot on the year. When I consult with people that want to get into self-sustainable agriculture, more what we do, we say, how much land have you got? You got 10 acres, you got 5 acres, you got 20 acres, and then we build a system based on that, and we start out on the small side of things. And I will tell you this, he's talking about putting a 40-pound pig on it. You do want to start out with a pig that's that the sow has been in that system, or they won't digest the nutrients right from your cover crops, and you'll end up with a bunch of skinny little pigs, and the knotheads will die off right away. I learned that the hard way, but, and, I also learned that buying a $6,000 Berkshire boar from Iowa and crossing it with my pigs doesn't work either. It died. So, you kind of want the ugly pig, you know, I mean, like that lady in the back selling, I mean, you need to talk to her, that's the kind of pigs that you want to be looking for. It's not the pretty girls that win this race.
But other questions, I will share this, and Teresa, if you want to come up, Teresa is the pig expert, call her Teresa if you would, please. And as Teresa comes up, one thing we'll talk about as the day goes on, this is what happened to me is I was selling beef, and I kept having customers who ask me, what do you have pork? And finally I'm like, well, if all these people want to buy it, why don't I have pork? My friend Joe over there has already asked for a turkey. Joe, you won't be getting a turkey from me because I'm scared of him. Travis may raise your turkey, but I ain't going to. He's got your turkey. Your multi-species does a couple things for you. One, you do become more efficient with what you've got. So our animal doesn't eat as effectively as the other animal does, but you also get that customer. That customer wants to buy great food from you. And if they're already wanting to buy beef, the next question is, I want pork. The next question is, I want eggs. And again, I won't raise an eggs either for obvious reasons. But Teresa, go ahead. Come up here, Teresa. And Teresa is amazing with pigs. I got fortunate to meet with Teresa. I needed red wattles, and she blessed me because I offered a price. And when you buy things, you don't drive to see them. I said, Teresa, here's the price. We agreed to the price, very fair. She delivered me, and she told me they're all heritage. And she dropped them off. I'm like, this lady was a great lady, but some of those pigs were white, and they looked like rats. And I trusted her, so I sent her a text. I said, what's up with the white pigs that look like rats? And she said, they're Mangolista. And I seen dollar signs because I got Eastern Europeans, and they love Mangolista. I've actually got them priced too low for Eastern Europeans. They love Mangolista. The ugliest pig you've ever seen in your life, though. Here you go, Teresa.
Well, your orange pigs are red wattle Mangolista.
Okay, I'm sorry.
And, yeah, you've got a few different things, and Jeff was great because we're changing our genetic profile a little bit, what we're breeding and what we're doing. And it created a surplus of pigs that weren't a real homogeneous group. So Jeff could take the little ones, the big ones, and mixed breeds. And it was amazing to hear that regardless of what I sent him, they were all doing really, really well. And I don't have a lot of experience either as far as head count per grazing, but I've got a real good friend on Sugar Mountain Farm. They have a great website, gives you a lot of really good grazing information. He'll probably have a 300 pig count total on 70 acres. I think he does a strong crop rotation. I think he could learn a lot at a seminar like this, but I think you're looking at reasonably 7 pigs per acre if you're going to rotate them with the cover crop plan. You might be even able to go a little higher than that. The trick is just don't let them beat it down to dirt. Keep them moving and keep it green. But
What's the name of that website you said?
look up Sugar Mountain Farm. They're more on the East Coast, and he's been doing this a long time. And it's great that he's a mentor to so many people. You'll even see people from Canada who are referencing the documents he puts on, and just adding his own butcher shop because he wanted to have that kind of quality control in his pigs. But it's a learning experience, and we just all have started someplace, and we just try to improve. Everybody wants to improve what they're doing. You want to feed better, so your product is better. You learn a lot, and you want a healthy product for yourself and your family. And work with people who are developing markets so that you can grow bigger and better and help other people.
Thank you, Teresa. I know we don't want to turn this just to a pig seminar, but we always want to answer your questions. And I am pretty excited with pigs, and I'll let you know why. You get them at a reasonable price. That's good for the producer. You turn around, you feed it nothing but cover crops, and the pigs sell per quarter 250 bucks a quarter. So you're getting $800 to $1,000 per pig. And they're a quick turnover. I talked to one guy who wanted to buy some seed out of Alabama this week. He's selling his pigs, but he is piecing them out. Farmer's market's getting around $1,400 a pig. For red waffles, get $1,400 and usually sells out at each farmer's market. Now, that's Alabama. I would not have thought that would have been as strong as South pretty good pork goes, right? Other questions? Yes.
How long to finish one of those out?
The question was how long to finish it out. What we're finding right now, and the guy that works on my farm, because I do live in Detroit, Todd Place is my foreman, he says we're probably going to lag about 1 month behind a finishing barn. Todd has worked in finishing barns, and he says we're probably going to lag about 4 to 6 weeks, which isn't too bad with our system. But that's with that wet forage, it's pretty high protein. Travis, you want to answer how long it takes you to finish?
Yeah, that's about what we've seen, and they actually, some of the older, I mean, you gotta think about what he's saying, though. You're taking a pig with genetics that are 100 years behind the pig with the finishing line. I mean, that's pretty amazing. But they actually will finish a little faster, heritage breed will, forage than they will on point.
And the key is they need to be heritage. I could not be doing something like you could be doing it either. Because I tried to with my steers, I tried to make those Holsteins work, and no, they need to be milked or fed to McDonald's. They don't work. Dwight, yes.
So I just want to make sure I understand this right. You're saying that the more modern breeds of hogs, this system will not work on?
I don't believe it will. And the question was, will the more modern breed of pigs work in this system? I'm not confident. Travis, your answer?
If you want to see it for yourself, don't do it out by the road, but get some regular hogs and then get the others, and it won't be very long and your other hogs will disappear because your heritage hogs will eat them. They'll eat them. And they're protein, but it don't work. I mean, they just don't, they're not as efficient, but it does. Just try it sometime. But it's real, that's what it won't work. They don't work. And also, another thing, if you're buying pigs off of somebody else, make sure you get pigs that they didn't cut their teeth. They need those teeth to forage. That's really, really important. There's a few people that are selling heritage breed feeder pigs that they cut their teeth, and it just, they are not as efficient.
Other questions? Yes, sir.
Teresa mentioned the website for grazing information. What was that website?
The question was for the website for grazing information. I'll go give the mic to Teresa. Teresa, what was their website?
Look up Sugar Mountain Farm.
I got it right here, it's sugarmtnfarm.com. MTN, it isn't mountain spelled out, just FYI.
Okay. Audience members, go sugarmtn
Farm.com.
farm.com. There we go. Thank you. Other questions? Yes.
As we did in the area where we're at, a lot of the commercial pigs, you deal with PRRS and you deal with a lot of these other issues that are kind of common in commercial. How does that affect if you bring in pigs where there's other pigs around? Is that an issue or not really? Or?
Well, Travis, I think I know what your answer is going to be because you called me up on this last year. Go ahead. Go ahead and repeat your question, Travis.
Yeah, he's wondering, with PRRS and everything, if you're in an area where there's a lot of hogs, how will it affect your heritage hogs? And I'm from Carroll County, and we have a lot of hogs in that area. I live in between two packing plants, so we have trucks going down the highway all the time. And, a lot of those diseases will go 5-10 miles. We have not had any trouble with PRRS, anything like that. When the Serco virus went around, I mean, you guys probably remember that, but the pigs they get diarrhea, and we was pretty worried about that. When we farrow in pens of corn stalks, and we'll pen farrow like 6 sows at a time. And the idea is they'll make a nest, and then have their pigs and they can kind of, take care of them. And then over time, they might be nursing someone else's pigs or whatever, but they all take care of each other's pigs. So when we got it, our little pigs got diarrhea right away. And I was like, well, here we go. And it was amazing the instinct that those little pigs have. Their stomach hurt, so they started eating forage and eating the corn stalks. So we decided to try to put oats in there. And the little pigs, they ate oats, and they got super skinny, and for 2 weeks they looked terrible. And I'd say the bottom 10% of them died off, and then they made it through it, But my cousins that raise hogs commercially, they were getting 80 or 90% death loss through that because all them little pigs had was milk in their stomach. So it is pretty cool. But to answer your question, will you ever get diseases? Yeah, you will. But it's nothing to be afraid of. I think the biggest thing that we have to push is having enough diversity in our mix that they're getting all the nutritional requirements met. And if you do that, you'll see their immune system kick in and they'll fight a lot of that stuff. But yeah, I know what you're saying. We have probably like a lot of people do, we have a lot of quads in our area and they're bringing pigs in from North Carolina, and so and you get curs and all that stuff all the time floating around. But we honestly haven't seen that curs.
Other questions? Yes.
Two questions. One is, I'm a little curious about your rotation as far as days on pasture. And then would you adjust your cover crops specifically for what you're eating, pigs or cattle or for turkeys or something like that?
Okay, we'll take these two parts. Number one, question was asked. Get this right. First off, adjusting cover crop for the animals. And I would 100% do that, and we will go through that this afternoon. I do know that the pigs love the brassicas. However, as I say that, I do notice the steers that we open the round bell up, the first thing they eat are the leaves from the radish, the rape, and the turnips. They're just eating it like candy. That's what I noticed. And I would adjust the plant species, and we're going to talk about that later on. But what will happen in the polyculture, when you mix your multi-species plant animals with it, you'll get better utilization of everything. The whole system will improve it. But since Travis is using a very diverse multi-species in his polyculture, here, Travis.
Yeah, that's what we do. But as far as the number, I don't really know. Just because most of the time we're running sheep ahead of our hogs. But we're using a lot of brassicas. We use that Premier electric fence out of Iowa, and I just have a dog. We move it around, and they're on a spot. I'd say about 3 or 4 days grazing, and then they go on.
Do we have those questions answered with that? Oh, that's okay. Other questions? Other questions? Yes.
What was a CLA?
CLA is conjugated linoleic acid, and we will cover that today, but I got to take a minute on that. CLA is probably one of your most fundamental building blocks for your immune system. And there's some research that shows it will not cure cancer, it won't cure it, but if you have a higher CLA and you're coping with cancer, you're more likely to recover faster. So if you get a chance to check out CLA, it's very trendy. When you get into your urban areas that want these high quality products, they want to know you're doing what you can to get a high CLA count. I got a young man from Detroit, very educated, won CLA, found out I was living in Birmingham and had meat that was prescribed for CLA. He in 9 months lost 60 pounds of weight. You will lose more weight if you're eating a conjugated linoleic acid meat. The problem with the omega-6 meat, just like the animal gains weight real quick, so do you. And that's the problem. If you're eating omega-3 meat and a CLA meat, you won't have as much weight issues. So that's something to work on. One thing that was very eye-opening for me was I got to go to Ontario to a convention that was way further ahead than anything I've seen in the States so far. And about 100 people, very comparable to what we got. And the number one thing that stood out was how healthy everyone was. Their teeth were excellent, their complexion was excellent, their health was good, and these were people that were living and eating in this manner. and it was a reality. So Travis, do you aim with CLA, or don't you put a lot of push on that? Yeah. That is, how many people have heard of CLA prior? There's a huge push on CLA. If you're going to sell to these urban areas, they want to know you're doing what you can to push the economy to get lower gas. Other questions? One thing we planned to make this a rich and diverse day was that as I would introduce people, that you'd have ideas at breakout times who you wanted to speak with. Travis and I are floating around. We do have the vendors. We're going to take a 20-minute break now and a restroom break. Please take time to stop by some of the vendor booths. We're real excited about who we have here. Ask questions, get a coffee, get a drink. We'll reconvene here in about 20 minutes. Thank you.